Always a fun time to talk to JT Cruz here on the Sports Buffet podcast. Let's kind of look back before we look forward. What went right in the EC Glass win?
Honestly, it was pretty much everything that went right in that game. You come out of a game like that, obviously with the margin of victory that we had, and it's tough to look back and say like, oh, if we'd have done this, if we'd have done that. I mean, a lot of things went right. We moved the ball well on offense. We played really well defense, created a lot of turnovers on defense. Special teams, I thought we got down the field and covered kicks really well, and so across the board, I thought our kids went out there and executed really well against a quality EC Glass team who I think things just kind of it went bad for them early, and then they let it snowball on them a little bit. But I thought our guys, they played really well.
Let me ask the question in a different way. What did you all not do as well as you wanted them to do?
What did my team not do as well as what I would have liked for
Correct.
them to do?
Thank you for restating the question.
Yeah, so we missed an extra point off of our first offensive touchdown. Kicker started his footwork just a hair too early, and that caused an issue there, which caused us to miss out on that. Which you never want to leave points out there, especially on extra points. Those should be automatic. And we have a good kicker in Austin Walker, who for the most part has been really good on extra points. And so, that's a mistake that you can point to and say like, man, we got to do better there. There was one kickoff where I felt like we got out of our lanes a little bit, and I think it was maybe the second kickoff of the game allowed them to get a pretty big return. And that's something that, we've had a lot of opportunities for our kickoff team this year. And it's one of those things where, when you're on special teams, particularly in that situation, the two that you can always look to on special teams are punt and kickoff, because those are the ones where you're giving the ball back to the other team. And typically they are going to have their best athlete back there returning either the kickoff or the punt. And so as a kickoff team, like, that's one of the toughest jobs you can have as a coach, is to be the guy who's in charge of the kickoff team, right? Because very rarely does stuff go well for you. Yeah, you can pin them down there and go down and make a huge play, but oftentimes it's, man, we let up a big return here, or we gave them too many yards on the return. And so that's one thing that we just have to continue to harp and work with our guys is making sure that they understand what their responsibilities are on kickoff, where they need to fit into the lanes, what they can do to escape blocks versus what they can't do, and just different things like that. So there's certainly some coaching points on that end too, as far as, like that's the first play of defense, right? And if we're able to kick the ball off and hold them inside of the 30 versus kicking the ball off and now they got the ball on their 45 or even our 45, like those are huge differences when you talk about starting field position. And like, that's just that many fewer first downs that the offense has to get in order to score on you. So like, there's a few things special teams wise that, yeah, I think we could definitely get cleaned up.
You won 56-0. Is it hard to find stuff, or do you not want to, like, maybe I don't want to say do you want to harp on it in practice, but where do you focus on getting better when the margin is that well in your favor?
So, and this is every game that we play, not just the past one. We don't really spend a ton of time talking about the previous game. And to be honest, we don't really spend a ton of time talking about the next game. We talk about ourselves.
Wait, let me interrupt real quick. Do not talk about the mistakes that you made from the previous game, though.
If something shows up blatantly on film, we'll talk about it. But truthfully, we don't even watch that game with our team. Like that game is over and done with. We are on to the next one.
But you watched it.
I've watched it. Of course, I've watched it.
Right. But my point is, the mistakes that happen. So we're talking about a kick and we're talking about a kickoff. Those things are not coming up Monday or Tuesday in practice.
They can, but it's not one of those things where we reference specifically where it was like, hey, on play 56 against EC Glass, we did this and we need to do this differently on play 56 against EC Glass, because like we're never going to have play 56 against EC Glass again.
Right? I love
like,
play 56. My favorite play.
That game's over and done with, right? So like we're not talking about that specifically. Now, when it is, we practice kickoff twice a week. And so when we get to our kickoff period, we will talk about and overemphasize, hey, when we are doing this specific thing on kickoff, when we are working to kick the ball in this area, because we got a few different things that we can do as far as pooches and squibs and things like that, we need to be extra aware that, hey, we have to make sure that this player in this spot needs to get down the field and stay in his lane. And so sometimes that mistake can be fixed through coaching during the week. Sometimes that mistake can be fixed by making an adjustment to our personnel on kickoff team. Hey, if this guy is not doing his job and getting down the field and staying in his lane, maybe we need to find another guy who can. So I guess that would be, more the direction that we lean in as far as fixing those mistakes is just evaluating personnel and making sure we're always putting the right guys in the right spots, more so than anything specifically from a schematic standpoint, especially when you're talking about special teams. Because to me, honestly, special teams it's like, scheme is a part of it. But on kickoff team, that's like 90% personnel. That's like the guys that are running down the field covering that kick. It has a lot more to do with that than it does anything specific that you're doing from a schematic standpoint on kickoff.
Last time you had a bye week, it's going to happen. This time you kind of find out on Monday. How much or I guess you found out on the weekend. How much does that tinker with the practice plan and everything up to the week?
No, so we found out Monday, and we actually found out after practice on Monday. So it was parent teacher conference day at JF on Monday, and so we actually had practice in the morning, so that the teachers in the building, myself included, could be here in the evening from 12 to 7 to be here for any conferences or anything like that needed to take place. So we practiced that morning from it was 9 to 11:30.
I didn't find out before you did that.
You may have. I didn't find out until it was maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on Monday that Rustburg was not going to be playing us on Friday.
I remember sending you a text from social media, and you said, "Where did you hear this?"
Well, so I might have heard it about 15 minutes before you sent me that text,
right.
And so that's why I wanted to know, where did you hear that from?
Right.
Because at that point, I had not told my team.
Right.
I had not put it out to parents yet. And so as soon as you sent me that Rustburg they had already announced it on their social media, I was like, okay, well, now I need to go and put something out to my team and my parents. Otherwise, I'm going to get about 1,500 questions here in the next 10 minutes. So I quickly sent out and let them know. But at that point, I had just heard. And so we were still scrambling, trying to find a game and seeing if there was going to be anybody available on Friday for us to play, just because, we didn't want our guys to lose out on an opportunity to go out there and play on Friday. You only get so many of those as a high school player, and to lose
stop
one.
real quick on that one, because I get where we're going, but we're going to have a little argument here.
Okay. All right.
Why? I mean, it's going to be really hard to find a game at this point. I get what you're saying. You want your guys to have the experience, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But at the end of the day, can this extra week be beneficial of not playing?
It can be beneficial if we make it beneficial. Just like any other bye week, like you can lose that bye week if you don't take care of what you need to in practice.
Right.
We already had our bye, and we got a lot out of that bye week, and I thought we came out of that bye better than we did going into that bye. Mm-hmm. This one, obviously, a little bit different because it took us by surprise a little bit. But so you got to think about a high school football player, okay? And maybe they have the best, maybe they're the best player in the world, and they play 4 years of varsity football, and that is the exception to the rule. Typically, you're talking 2 years of varsity football. But let's just say they're playing 4 years of varsity football.
Okay.
They have 10 games each season, so 40 total varsity football games that they have an opportunity to play. Okay, maybe you get some playoff games on top of that. All right, it's different than a lot of other sports where you're playing upwards of 20-plus games per season. Football, you get 10 per year. Okay, and so our seniors, like some of these guys, this is their second year of varsity football. So they played 12 last year, and they had 10 guaranteed this year. We've clinched the playoffs, and now we got 11 guaranteed. Well, now, because we didn't have the opportunity to play this Friday, that's one less game that they have. It's just there's just not that many.
I got you.
And so, that's ultimately the experience of high school football is playing the games, man. I mean, you remember a lot of other stuff. You remember the relationships and the practice and the locker room and all that stuff. But we're doing this to go out there and play on Fridays. And so to lose out on one of the opportunities that they have, which again are few and far between. These dudes are working since January to go out here and play 10 opportunities guaranteed to play. And so it stinks to lose one of those. So yeah, we were going to do everything that we could to find one. We knew it was going to be a long shot. Like most people, you can only schedule 10 games in a regular season for football. Most people have 10 game schedules.
Right.
Okay. So now we're looking at, is there anybody out there that has 9 games scheduled? And then of those guys, is there anybody that happens to have an open week the same week as us? And that
Good
list
luck.
just, man, it dwindles so fast.
Yep.
And so, we reached out to a couple people, and we knew it was going to be a long shot, and it ended up not working out, which was unfortunate. And so now it's Tuesday, right? And
Right.
like we got a pretty good idea. Hey, we're not going to be playing on Friday. So what do we do then? Well, the good thing about kind of our philosophy as a program is it's not about the opponent, it's about us. And so we can continue to have that message with our guys.
Right.
Like it
Right.
stinks that we're not going to be able to play on Friday, but it's ultimately not about the opponent, it's about us. So what can we do Monday through Thursday, or now Tuesday through Thursday this week, to continue to improve as a football team? And it would have been really, really easy for our guys, knowing that they were not playing on Friday, to go out there and just kind of phone in effort throughout the week of practice. But again, like our ultimate goal is not to be really, really good this coming Friday. Our ultimate goal is to be the best football team that we can be long term. And
You
that comes through continuous improvement.
you guys
And
banged up
so
right
like
now?
not
Okay.
particularly. We got a few guys that are out, and there's some things that we can do to reduce reps and get healthy.
Gotcha.
But man, like there's no substitution for game experience.
Yep.
But throughout the week, like we can still get something out of this week. We can still get better this week, and I think our guys, to their credit, have done that. And like again, it would have been easy to just say, we're going to phone it in, we're going to go through the motions this week, and we'll get ready to roll next week. Like no, they came out and they competed, and we've had a good week of practice.
Well, and I'm by the way, I want to apologize for interrupting. I didn't mean to interrupt you several times right
Bob, you
there.
can interrupt me whenever you want, man, because you always you ask good questions. They're
Well,
always good.
I feel like when we talk, it's more conversation than, a guy firing questions. So I think,
Sure.
if we
Yeah,
ever get in person, that's going to be the great time. But,
absolutely.
but, I think, do you ever spin it to where, hey, practice might help us more than a Friday night will?
Well, and so again, the unique thing about not having an opponent on Friday is now as the coach, I understand the things that I know we need to work on defensively and
Mhm.
offensively. So now it shifts from preparing for Russberg's defense and Russberg's offense and giving our offense and our defense those looks, to let me give our offense and defense the looks that I know can give us trouble and that we need to find answers for and work on to fix. And so in that sense, like it is almost that beneficial that we don't have to worry about lining up to all of Russberg's formations. I can, as when I'm running the scout team offense against our defense, I can give our defense looks that I know are going to stress them and make them have to work different techniques and things that I know that we need to improve on, again, to continue to be the best football team that we can be. Same thing offensively. Like it's not, hey, I'm not just going to line us up against what I anticipate Russberg doing on defense. Now I'm going to give us a whole bunch of looks and see how we can go out there and block that and stress our offense and give our offensive line some different looks, things maybe they haven't seen before, to try and hey, are we going to be able to sort this out? Like, how are you guys going to apply your rules on this play versus this front? And then if they if they don't do well, we can coach it up and get it fixed, so that if we do see that down the road, we've already seen it, and we can like have that experience with it. And
I'm
so
out.
like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
again, just trying to find some silver lining over the fact that we're not playing this Friday.
Right.
There are still things that we could do to go out and improve and better ourselves as a team.
I'm obviously not going to hold you for 45 minutes because A, you don't have that time. B, I don't have that time. C, you've turned me into a football junkie a little bit, by
Hey,
the way.
it's a good place to be, man. It's a
What's your
great sport to be a junkie about.
Is your scout team running a future opponent? I mean, without getting too deep into this, is your scout team running a future opponent? Are they running a future playoff opponent, or is it just whatever JT Cruz thinks about at night?
So typically going into a week, I will have watched the opposing offense ad nauseum to know, like,
Right.
these are the core concepts that they like to run on offense.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I anticipate them running them against our defense. So
Mm-hmm.
then I draw up those cards so our scout team goes out and knows exactly what to do. This week I could be a little bit more creative because I'm not limited by what the opposing offense can do. And so like it's Coach Burford, my defensive coordinator, so like he runs the scout team defense, and so when I'm on offense, like he's trying to beat me, like
Right.
he's trying to get the
Sure.
scout team defense to go out there and shut us down. Same thing on offense, like when I'm running the scout offense, like I'm trying to move the ball against these guys and like be competitive, and so I can do some different things because I'm not limited by what a potential opponent is going to do. Again, things that I know are going to stress our defense. Now I'm not going to go out there and line up in some like crazy swinging gate formation or lonesome polecat or anything like that. But there's some things that I know, like, hey, some opponents that we're going to play in the future, they like to do this. And well, what if in this formation I give them this look? Haven't seen it on film, don't know that they're going to do that, but hey, let's just go ahead and do it and see how our defense handles it. Like just different stuff like that.
Well, and I guess the point is, I mean, when you know you're in the playoffs already, and I know you don't want your kids looking ahead, but Are you breaking? Are you running a scout team offense as opposed to what you could see then? Because I mean, let's be honest, the next 2 weeks matter, but they I don't know. I don't want to say they don't because you're gonna yell at me, but I mean, the playoffs really, 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 really matter. And when you got that off week to do it with, you don't have anything Friday. That's where
Yeah,
you understand where I'm going?
I understand where you're coming from, but again, it just goes back to it's not about the opponent. It's not about what they're doing. It's about what we're doing.
What's the
And
point of
so
scout team
like
then?
because the point of scout team is to make sure that our defense is ready for anything that they're going to see it on from an opponent. And
Right.
like throughout the week, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing that. Like I may run plays against our scout team throughout the week that let's just use Russberg as an example
Sure.
because we're not playing them, right? So like
Right.
I've watched all of Russberg's film. I know everything that they have run up to this point on offense. Now, like they are allowed to go out and do different stuff on Friday. Like they don't have to just do what they've shown
Right. Right.
up to this point, right? So like there are some things that I'm thinking like, okay, well, what if they went out and did this? Like that would give us some trouble with how we're lining up to this formation. And so I'm going to do it. And so like I want us to be prepared if that comes out on Friday, like we've already thought about what the answer is to that situation. Now again, like that is all within reason because I don't want to go out there and chase ghosts and say, well, what if they do this? What if they
Right.
motion
Right.
this guy?
Right.
What if they
Right.
shift this
Right.
guy? Like,
Right.
you can do a million different things. But like within my mind, I've seen enough offensive football to know like okay, these are the core concepts that they run. Like these are some things that they could do with those concepts that maybe they haven't shown yet, but they could do that might give us some trouble. I guess would be the best way to put it.
Final part questions here. Did you ever have a double bye in high school? Because that's what you
So
have now.
yeah, and believe it or not, I don't remember exactly, but I'm like 90% sure that my senior year, I think we did have a double bye.
Okay.
And so I want to say at that point, you still got a first round bye in the playoffs if you were a high enough seed.
No, no,
And
I'm not.
so,
I'm talking double rate. Let me rephrase. I'm sorry. Double regular
well,
season bye.
so no double regular seed,
Okay.
like no,
They're odd.
yeah. But I want to say like we had two buys and they were back to back. So like
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, and like that's different than our situation right now. But I'm
Gotcha.
pretty sure my senior year we played 10 straight games and had a bye the last week of the regular season, and then turned around and had a first round
Gotcha.
postseason bye.
That makes sense.
Like I have no idea how we handled that. I cannot remember back that far. Like I'm sure we had a few days off here and there, and I'm sure we practiced and everything. Like I could not tell you what our
Okay.
practice schedule was my senior year, but I'm fairly sure that happened. So like not exactly analogous to the situation that we're in right now as a team,
Right.
but like at least something kind of along those lines. And I want to say we went out and played really well in the first playoff game. So like it couldn't have hurt us that much.
How much are we digging in right now in terms of stuff? We meaning you digging into like router points and scenarios and that jazz.
Again, I don't have a game this week, so I gotta find some way to fill my time, right? So, like, I've played out a couple different scenarios. I mean, and that's the cool thing about the way Virginia does playoffs is like, it's not just pure winning percentage. It's not just like our record versus somebody else's record. Like, there's so many different variables at play as to what your playoff seeding ends up being, and I truly think it is a good system because it takes into account the quality of the opponents that you're playing. It takes into account like we've beaten this team, but that team hasn't won any games, so they're only worth this amount. Where versus this team that we're potentially competing with for seeding, they've beaten this other team, and that team has won a whole bunch of games, so they're worth more than like. So there's a lot of math and formulas and things like that go into play. But I think it's like it's probably I don't think there's any perfect playoff system unless everybody plays everybody, which is impossible, right? Like that's not going to happen. And so I think it's the best system that you can have within the confines of a 10-game season.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that because we're gonna talk about that in the off season. Because I remember last week or the week before you challenged me to come up with
Well,
something better.
like a better VHSL playoff system. Yeah, I'd love to hear your proposal because I think we got a pretty good one.
I'd love
There's
to
some
come
other
up with it.
states out there, like so. For instance, there's other states out there where their playoffs are purely based around district winning percentage. And like that's great and it places a lot of value on winning your district. But what that does is it means your non-district games are essentially meaningless. Like you could go over in your non-district games. But as long as you win your district, you're still going to get a pretty good seed in the
Right.
playoffs.
Right.
And so like that's not the best system that it could be. It's it's different, and again, it puts a lot of weight on district games, which maybe in Virginia there's not as much weight, right? Because like it's ultimately not about who wins the districts. It's just about your power points and how you fared against your competition. Again, I like our version a little bit more because every game is important at that point.
I think at some point you got to figure out a way to rank the districts.
Yeah, and but how do you do that?
I know.
Because you're talking about like again the way you rank the districts is probably some sort of PowerPoint system, which is kind of where we're already at. But like because no district out in Virginia Beach is really going to have any sort of common opponent with a district that's in Roanoke or
Right. Yeah,
southwestern
I'm with
Virginia or
you.
something like that. So like how do you apples to apples those?
I'll work on it.
Yeah, hey, I'd love to hear it. You're a smart guy. I bet you come up with a pretty good one.
Not really, but I appreciate that compliment. Hey, we'll do it again next week when you actually have a game on Friday.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I appreciate you, Bob.